Is the world on the verge of World War II? What is happening and what experts say the unexpected attack by Hamas on Israel and the escalation of the conflict in Libya, Syria, Iran, and Palestine have made the world think about the approach of a global war. The events of recent days in Israel have proved that the world is not united in matters of international security and justice. However, the confrontation between Jews and Arabs is not the only international conflict that may indicate that the world is on the verge of World War II. What is the likelihood that the current conflicts will lead to a direct military clash between authoritarian and democratic states, which will eventually open the door to World War II? Will there be a third world war, and what indicates the existence of such a threat? Currently, there are several serious conflicts in the world that are causing panic in the international community. Hamas, Israel, Palestine. Hezbollah. The war between Israel and Palestine is caused by a long-standing conflict that dates back a couple thousand years. But today other countries, including Syria, Lebanon, and Iran, are escalating this conflict. According to Bild, it is likely that Israel will wage war on 5 fronts at once. In addition, according to CNN, the United States and its allies are already warning Hezbollah militants against escalation. Since the bulk of this military group is located in Libya, Washington is closely monitoring events in the country. It is also important that the militant group is financed mainly by Iran, and therefore its direct confrontation with Israel is obvious. In addition, despite warnings including from the UAE, Syria has already begun shelling Israel from its own side. The position of some other countries, in particular Turkey, is also alarming. For example, recent ambiguous statements by Recep Erdogan, including that the killings of Israeli civilians by Hamas were accidental and that Israel's approach to resolving the situation is too brutal and unjustified, add fuel to the fire despite the fact that the Turkish president himself calls for de-escalation. Ukraine and Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine also has centuries-old roots, and today it poses a threat to the whole of Europe. And although it seems that there is no direct danger to other countries, the Ukrainian government is calling on Western countries to be vigilant because Ukraine is the only obstacle for Russia that stops the aggressor country from attacking the Baltic states. This is despite the fact that NATO countries have repeatedly suffered from Russian shelling of Ukraine. In particular, Romanian citizens stayed awake with Ukrainians during nightly air raids and drone strikes on their territory. The Polish border area was also damaged. It is also important to note that Russia's attack on Ukraine is an attempt to change borders by force, which has become a dangerous precedent for the whole world, as other countries may follow suit. China, the United States, and Taiwan. The confrontation between China and the United States over Taiwan has been going on for years. The world saw a new round of this conflict in 2022 when House Speaker Nancy Pelosi decided to visit the island. Currently, experts agree that the countries will not come to a direct confrontation, but it is known that China has already increased its military budget by 7.5 due to the need to solve defense problems of the international system and confrontation between giant countries. What to expect? The global security crisis obviously occurred long before the Russian invasion. It was caused by many events of the 21st century, among which financial factors played a major role. However, the full-scale war in Ukraine and the armed invasion of Israel have exacerbated this situation. In addition, authoritarian methods of governance are gaining popularity in the world, and power is falling into the hands of those who aim to solve issues by force. Most international experts agree that the world will not allow the outbreak of World War II, as its consequences will be irreparable. But at the same time, analysts predict a significant increase in the number of so-called proxy wars, when giant countries fight for their interests at the hands of small and underdeveloped countries. At the same time, in his interview with Ukrainska Pravda, the head of the defense intelligence of Ukraine, Kirilo Budanov, noted that the world is rapidly approaching a global war. This is my subjective assessment. In terms of geography, we see several conflicts that, at first glance, seem to be regional except for Ukraine, but they are all interconnected by the same countries that are involved in these processes. So yes, I think we are still approaching a global war quite quickly, he said. At the moment, it is impossible to say what specific developments we should expect or prepare for. But the fact that the world is changing, and this will have certain consequences, is a fact that will be hard to argue with. We remind you, in October, the U.S. Lend-Lease law for Ukraine officially expired, and NATO warns that the West has almost exhausted its military aid.